AM News. Tell us, Na'eem, what do you make of this law?
Well, the law clearly is firstly a very racist law. It essentially targets African refugees. Secondly, it is a violation of human rights and a violation of the Refugee Convention of 1951, which Israel is a signatory to. But, you know, the thing is that the kind of racist and xenophobic attitude that Israel has had, particularly towards African refugees, if we consider that from 1948, when the State of Israel was created, up to now, only 200 people in the 60-odd years, only 200 people have been given refugee status. So the law is highly problematic from that perspective, but also highly problematic in what it provides. Essentially, refugees who are asylum seekers in Israel are given two choices. They're either given little money as a compensation and told that they can then leave the country and go wherever they want. Of course, if they are refugees, where are they going to go to? Or they're locked up in a detention facility, and this is the problem. That's why today, for the fifth day now, you're having these protests in Tel Aviv and other places by refugees. Now,
I'm very interesting that you should mention racism there. Since Israel is a country of immigrants where Jews from all over the world are often granted residency and some become citizens, could these laws be labeled racist laws against Africans, or is it indeed a legitimate clampdown on illegal immigration?
You know, what is illegal immigration? If people are coming from South Sudan, for example, we all watch the news, we know what's happening in South Sudan. If people are coming from Eritrea, where the denial of basic freedoms is as heavy as it is, you know, I think Eritrea has the highest number of journalists locked up, for example. People are coming from Sudan and other such countries. They are genuine refugees. They're looking for asylum. Then there are obligations that any state has under international law. The law that has been that is being passed has no effect on the large numbers of Russians that are there, for example, or the Filipinos or Sri Lankans that the Israelis import in order to work. But the way that citizenship and immigration, etc., is structured in Israel is itself very racist. So, for example, Israel has something called the law of return, in terms of which a Jew anywhere in the world, so a Jew born in South Africa, whose parents, grandparents, great-grandparents have been here for the past 3 or 4 generations, and before that came from Lithuania, for example, could just pitch up at Tel Aviv airport and be granted citizenship of the state. But Palestinians who have lived on that land, which is now called Israel, for the past 2,000 years, and are now refugees living in Lebanon, Syria, etc., cannot get citizenship in the state of Israel, even though they were moved only 50 or 60 years from their home. So that in itself is racist. But if you look at the whole refugee thing, the fact that over the past 60 years, only 200 people have been granted refugees, there are now about 50,000 people on the streets of Tel Aviv demanding better conditions. All of them are asylum seekers. But in the past 60 years, only 200 have been granted refugees. So they're not unhappy about importing Russians and Filipinos and Sri Lankans, etc. But it's the Africans that they want to get rid of. And if you also consider, apart from the laws, the kind of xenophobic attacks that have taken place over the past 2 years or so, the kind of language used by government people from Prime Minister Netanyahu downwards, from senior government leaders, referring to these African refugees in the vilest possible way. And even the law that we're talking about, let's be honest, I mean, the law is called the Prevention of Infiltration Act.
Absolutely.
It's not called the Regulation of Immigration or Regulation of Refugees. It's called the Prevention of Infiltration Act. So these Africans are regarded as infiltrators into the society. It definitely is a racist law, and the way that they're being dealt with is in a very racist way.
Thank you so much. That was Director of Afro-Middle East Centre, Na'eem Jeenah, joining us on the line from Rustenburg. Well, stay